Got you. Welcome to the Murarka-Shah Museum! Perfect, just like we rehearsed. Welcome everyone, this is a remarkable place with an extraordinary connection to the past. But before I go any further, I do have a bone to pick.
A what?
Thanks, Natalie.
A bone to pick.
True. I have a bone to pick with our name because it's a little bit misleading. Brea tar pits. The reason why is there is no tar here and there are no pits. Controversy. Let me explain what I mean. The black sticky substance that you might have seen seeping up outside the museum, that's actually liquid asphalt. Tar goes through a man-made process, whereas liquid asphalt is occurring naturally. And when it bubbles up to the surface, it forms shallow seeps just a few inches deep. So not exactly the vast pools the word pits might suggest. Now we are a scientific research institution, right? We should be aiming for accuracy here. So based on that, a more accurate name for this place might be something like the Brea Shallow Sticky Liquid Asphalt Seeps, just a few inches deep on the surface museum. That's terrible, right?
But that doesn't roll off the tongue.
That's terrible. I reckon exactly, it doesn't roll off the tongue. I think people are more likely to visit a place if it's got a name, perhaps like the title of the thrilling movie. How about this? The creatures from the Brea tar pits. No? Alright, need some work. Long before any movies were being made, there were natural dramas playing out right here in Los Angeles, and they're still happening today. Has anyone heard of Project 23? Great, well, we've got a short 2-minute film to get us all up to speed on Project 23.
Project 23 is the most important dig that we've had here in the last 100 years. We have an entire population of animals that we can study. And the more that we find, the more answers we can eventually figure out. It could double our fossil collection. It could lead us to find out so much more about the late Pleistocene and how these animals lived and ultimately how they died.
Project 23 is a salvage project started in 2006 when the art museum next door to the La Brea tar pits dug an underground parking structure. They found 16 deposits of fossils, which they boxed into 23 boxes, hence the name Project 23. It was suspected that we were going to find fossils right next to the world's largest Ice Age fossil site, and we did.
Zed was discovered because the art museum next door decided to dig a really big hole. A backhoe was planing the ground and all of a sudden hit his skull. So they found everything in place and it turned out to be about an 80% complete Columbian mammoth in only 45 square feet. This is one of his cool pieces. This is his left tusk, and it's the first complete tusk ever found at Rancho La Brea. Normally we find a deposit, dig down, find all the bones, and pull them out and process them. But we couldn't do that because there was a parking structure being built. So we boxed up the whole deposit. We found the edges, dug down around it, dug underneath it, boxed it up, and craned it over onto our property.
Not only did we have to excavate all the fossils, we also had to clean them, identify them, catalog them, database them, and store them. We keep the fossils for research as well as education and exhibits. People from all over the world come to the tar pits, study the fossils that we have here. We're a site-specific museum. We're extremely important. All the questions are not answered. We don't know what we want to know. And so because the fossils are here and because the data is here, hopefully going to be some research in the future where we're going to be able to answer some questions.
So Project 23 was a golden opportunity, and when it fell into our laps, we knew exactly what we had to do, and that is dig. And we've certainly had a lot of practice. We've been digging up things around here since 1913. And what exactly do our excavators find? Well, it's mostly the bones of extinct animals, but so much more. Most of what they'll dig up is between 11,000 and 55,000 years old. And when our excavators dig down into these deposits, it takes us all further and further into the past. And this is where we begin to unlock the stories these bones have been waiting to tell us for thousands of years. And it all starts when our excavators carefully remove bones one at a time from a deposit, like this. So a deposit is basically a solid mass of dirt and asphalt. This particular deposit is chock full of bones, and removing them is a slow and delicate process. Now this deposit wasn't always solid. It was actually once a part of a massive oil field, which to this day still rests some 1,700 feet beneath the seats you're all sitting in right now. During the late Ice Age, a phenomenon took place which is also still happening today, in which liquid asphalt from this oil field rose up to the surface through cracks in the Earth's crust. When it got up to the surface, it formed those shallow, sticky seeps that I mentioned earlier. These seeps eventually got covered by layers of leaves, dust, and all kinds of debris, which would have camouflaged them, making them undetectable to the naked eye. We suspect that during the warmer months, when these seeps were particularly sticky, unsuspecting animals would wander in looking for food and become helplessly stuck. So who were these animals? Well, let's take a look at a few examples. There's a short-faced bear, a dire wolf, a saber-toothed cat, a teraton, that's a predatory bird with a 12-foot wingspan, and a Shasta grass sloth. These are just a few examples of extinct animals whose remains that were found in the pits. Now, since these skeletons are mostly incomplete when we dig them up, scientists have got a bit of work to do when putting them together and filling in the gaps. So we'll try and demonstrate how they do that today using the saber-toothed cat up there in the top right-hand corner. Fun fact, the saber-toothed cat is the California state fossil. Fun fact, California has a state fossil. Here we have an incomplete skeleton of an adult Smilodon fatalis. This closely resembles remains that we actually found in one of the pits. Now, since we've dug up the remains of over 2,500 Smilodon over the years, we've got plenty of so-called spare parts to choose from when filling in those gaps. We'll then look at the condition of the bones for clues as to how the animal lived, hunted, and died. And this is the skeleton key that unlocks our imagination, because it's here in our minds that these creatures truly appear to come back to life. All right, here in this room.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, good afternoon, Kelly. Okay. Based on evidence, we can deduce the Smilodon fatalis was about the same size as a modern-day African lion, but coming in at twice the weight, at approximately 500 pounds. The bones of its chest, shoulders, and arms were very large and dense, suggesting this cat was very muscular and very powerful in its upper body. In the skeletons of older Smilodon, we consistently see signs of wear and tear in the lower lumbar region here in its lower back. This suggests the cat's hunting habits might have put a lot of strain on its lower back, and it also supports a popular theory that Smilodon fatalis was an ambush predator. Watch it. So an ambush predator is the type of creature that would carefully sneak up on its prey. It would then hide behind an obstruction or some shrubbery and wait for its victim to wander by. The cat would then pounce on its prey, grappling it to the ground and incapacitating it with its massive bulk. The beast would then deliver the death blow with its formidable canines, which, in case you managed to miss them, the canines are these large, lovely curved sabers protruding from its upper jaw. These sabers could grow to be 8 inches in length. The front and back edges were carved in sharp serrations, just like you'd find on a steak knife at home. Okay, alright, so alright. So we theorize the cat might have sliced into its prey and then fallen back and waited for its victim to die of shock and blood loss before moving into feast. And when biting, these teeth didn't provide an obstacle, since Smilodon could open his jaw anywhere from 90 to 120 degrees. It's a big old mouth, right? Even bigger toothbrush. When chowing down, these teeth didn't get in the way, since the cat would have used the sharp carnassial teeth in the side of its jaw for most of the chewing. Now our friend Callie, she's hunting alone today, but paleontologists theorize that Smilodon fatalis probably lived and hunted in large social groups, just like modern-day lion prides. Alright, so that is the cat. Not today, buddy, not today. Okay, walking away. Alright, tough job. What about its environment? After all, liquid asphalt acts as a time capsule, preserving not only bones, but also aspects of the natural world. Preserved evidence paints a picture of an Ice Age Los Angeles. It's a little bit different to the one that we see today. There were no buildings, no freeways, no museums, no Starbucks. The average rainfall was higher and the average temperature was lower. Plant evidence is consistent with the sagebrush shrub that you can see on the grounds of the museum today. However, there would have been groves of oak trees during the warmer periods and groves of juniper during the cooler periods. Now, as we look into this scene, we're about to see the image of a Harlan's ground sloth, feasting beside the watering hole, but apparently unaware of the asphalt seat concealed beneath its bark. There, the sloth is now stuck to the asphalt seat. He'll use all of his brute strength against the suction force of the liquid asphalt, but he's absolutely no match. And as his predicament worsens, the sloth lets loose a series of loud and desperate cries. cries ring out in the ears of every predator in the area. The number of carnivore bones which we excavate outnumber those of herbivores by approximately 9 to 1. And that ratio suggests a scenario like this, which the cries of one trapped herbivore might have acted like a magnet, attracting all of these ravenous predators to the area. And our saber-toothed cat is first to arrive on the scene. The saber-toothed cat is now sharing the fate of her would-be prey. So let's just freeze things here for a second. This scene will continue to grow and intensify with the addition of each new predator. So rather than fixate on those gruesome, gory details that are sure to follow, we might just skip ahead and catch a brief glimpse of what's to come. So the cat and the sloth are now slumped over and permanently fastened to the asphalt seat. This entrapment event is now complete. The bones beneath the surface have begun the next phase of their long journey, which will eventually lead them back to us right here at the Brea Museum. The bones that remain exposed to the air and elements will gradually begin to decay and decompose. Now, bones are very porous, so they'll slowly absorb that liquid asphalt. This further preserves and fortifies the bones by repelling groundwater and preventing any further decay. And this unique fossilization process can make bones that are tens of thousands of years old appear as if they've only been dead for a number of weeks. Up comes more liquid asphalt up to the surface. This would probably conceal all remaining evidence of any previous entrapment. And this in turn gets covered in another camouflaging layer of leaves and debris and what have you. We believe the weight of this next round of victims might have forced the bones beneath the surface to break apart and jumble together even further. And eventually these scenes would have stacked up one on top of the other, on top of the other, giving us the illusion of deep pits. Now these entrapment events weren't an everyday occurrence. It's more likely, based on our findings, that there was one entrapment event every 10 years or so. However, over the course of tens of thousands of years, all of these remains have piled up, leaving us here at the Murarka-Shah Museum with the most extensive collection of Ice Age fossils on the entire planet. Since 1913, we've excavated around 3.5 million fossils here, and Project 23 can help us add at least another 2 million more. It's pretty impressive, right? Well, folks, that's all I've got time for in the theatre here today, but there's lots more around the place to see. There's liquid asphalt, that's fun for the whole family. There's a plasticine garden on the far end of the parking lot with examples of Ice Age foliage. Zed, the Columbia mammoth, who we all saw in that first video, his remains can be found scattered throughout the museum. Or it is a great afternoon to take a walk around to Project 23, where you may be lucky enough to see our excavators hard at work. Well, thanks so much for coming along, everybody, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day at the Murarka-Shah Museum. Thank you.